How you doing, YouTube? Matt Massa Beer Reviews, back with beer review number 3,000. 3K, son! Yeah, how about that stuff? 3,000 beer reviews. Good God. That's a lot of beer reviews. Yeah. I don't even know what to think. Anyway, before we dive into the beer, I just want to say thank you for all you guys watching and talking and subscribing. Even the haters, I love you guys. Without all y'all, this wouldn't be as nearly as fun as it is. I'd probably still do it, but with the amount of interaction and, you know, just through conversation, through emails, beer mails, hanging out in real life, you know, over the years has been kind of crazy. The friends, that genuine friends I've made from actually having this channel. You know, people I met on beer. I said this before. Someone I met via this beer channel was at my wedding. How weird is that? Anyway, so yeah, it's been awesome. Beer review number 3,000. What are we going to do? What are we going to do? So you know me. If you go back and watch my other reviews, I don't really pull out like the crazy beers a lot of people do for their kind of tentpole beer reviews, you know, those big whales and kind of super hype beers. I kind of go a little bit more personal. For 1,000, I pulled out a little bit of Jenny Cream Ale, just because I love Jenny Cream Ale, and I think that made sense. For 2,000, I actually pulled out Weinstefaner. It's their Corbinian, which is their Doppelbock. Why did I do that? That was the first beer I reviewed on my channel. So I was thinking about what should I do for number 3,000. I actually had no clue, and I was creeping closer. And then about a couple weeks ago, I went into a local bottle shop, local actually beer distributor in Pennsylvania, and I was walking through, and I go in there every now and then, and I pick up like random beers here and there, you know what I mean, of, you know, crafty stuff. But it's a gigantic distributor, so there's a whole bunch of various different things you can actually get there, and but they have a huge kind of a macro section, and I was like, you know what? Like, let me see what they got in the macro side of things. I'm curious. I'm walking around, and what do I see? But this Carling Brewing, it's their black label beer. Now you're like, why the fuck are you going to review Carling Black Label? It is like one of the more well-known, shittier beers in general. Canadian born, UK adopted, and it's actually, I haven't seen it in years. But when I saw it, I immediately knew it was going to be my 3,000th beer review. Why? This is the beer that I used to steal from my dad between the ages of 15 to forever. You know, this is the beer my dad drank. And like I said, he drank various stuff. We owned a bar for a bunch of my formative years. He sold that when I was like 15, 16. But so we had random beers all over the place. But this is kind of like his go-to, his staple of what he'd keep in the fridge. You know, the garage fridge, the fridge out in the garage that you keep your shitty beer and all your extra frozen foods and all that kind of stuff. This is what was stocked in there. So, you know, when I got old enough to discover that beer, it was kind of cool. And this is what my dad had. And I don't know why he bought this, to be perfectly honest with you. It had a little bit more of a, I don't want to say prestige, but it had a little bit more kind of, we're talking, you know, late 80s, early 90s here. A little bit more kind of positivity to it. It was an imported beer. Still wasn't overly expensive. But he always had this, and he always had it in pounder cans. I couldn't find the pounder cans, but I saw this, and like I said, I haven't seen it in probably 20 years. So we're going to review this, because it's the beer I used to steal off my dad. We all stole beers off our dads, didn't we? I mean, some of you guys probably didn't, because you're probably not thieves, I guess. But yeah. I don't care if this beer is good or not. It's just a reason for me to kind of talk about things. It brings me back to a time when, you know, shit was simple, you know? What do we have in a can? Let's talk about that for a second. This is Carling, Canada, Black Label beer. Over a century of international brewing tradition, product of the USA. This is a Miller Coors product now, I believe. It'll say it on here. It says Heilman Brewing Company, Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Doesn't say Miller Coors on here. I assumed it would. Let's see. This was canned in February 17th, 2020. So we're looking at, what, 8 months old. So relatively fresh for this kind of beer. And here's the thing about it. I like this can label. I do, because it just brings back memories, you know. So yeah, let's see what this sucker has to offer. I mean, that's clear and corn looking beer is what that looks like. Beautiful, white as white could be, super tight, compact, bubble, foamy, creamy, kind of head on it. Super soft. I mean, very, very, very pretty, subtly rising kind of carbonation on this thing. It actually doesn't look that shabby. It looks a little bit darker than what you expect from a low ABV kind of macro lager. This isn't super low ABV. I don't think they have it on here, but I think this is spot on 5% alcohol by volume. And yeah, clear as clear could be. Let's see if we get a nose on it. Not all that bad. Not all that offensive. I mean, it's just a little bit of soft, ricey, corny vibes, a little bit of grainy vibes. Probably not even any grain in this beer. I'm not getting any kind of funkiness or off layers. Maybe the slightest bit of soft oxidation on it. But that's about it. I mean, it doesn't smell offensive. Let's put it that way. It's kind of what macro beers. That's what they do. That's what they do. So let's dive into this sucker. Cheers. Yeah, watery. Ooh, and there's definitely like a wet paper cardboardy thing going on. That's absolutely 100% in there. Outside of that, though, it's relatively unoffensive. I mean, not good by any stretch of the imagination. Not off, except for that cardboardy thing, but I think that's kind of on purpose, maybe. Soft little ricey, corny vibe. Not really anything as far as bittering goes. If I really wanted to pry at it, I could be like, yeah, a soft generic bittering, but I think that's just more me hoping it's there rather than actually being there. And that little bit of cardboardiness, done and done. It's watery. It's not overly impactful from any stretch of the imagination. And really, honestly, it's kind of macro beer at its core. And that it's got a little bit of that kind of cardboardy thing, which I assume is just not even an oxidation thing. I think it's actually probably just from low-end, low-grade ingredients. Not offensive, but also not offensive. It's neutral. It's like Switzerland. There's nothing there except for that little bit of soft, watery, corny vibe and that little bit of cardboardiness done and done. So, yeah. But I like it. I like it because I used to steal it off my dad. And it kind of made, I'm kind of doing this on the fly because it got me thinking when I was walking out here. Back when I lived, when I stole the beers off my dad, like I said, it was the late 90s, well, early 90s, late 80s, more early 90s. So I was probably stealing stuff 15, 16, 17. I graduated high school in 1994. So you're talking about, a simpler time. I lived in a town where you left your key. I left my keys in the ignition of my car when I drove places. We didn't lock our doors. We didn't worry about kind of crazy stuff. I lived in a very middle of nowhere, Gouldsboro, Pennsylvania. You go look it up. It's the middle of nowhere. And it was simple, man. There wasn't, life was good. I was from a lower middle class family. I never went hungry, but I never had anything fancy. So I had a real simple life. A lot of fishing, a lot of hanging out until I discovered women. And I'm kind of circling back into that life now, being here on a farm, lucky enough to find my wife. We're having a baby. So it's like almost wanting the past to become the future. Not that I'm not being an old guy, like get off my lawn. I want things to go back to the way they were, but the core values of what we were, just being good people and not being shitty people is just, I'm getting tired of it. So that was the other reason why I did this, because I wanted to do this as just a call to you guys to go out and vote. I'll put this beer review up. It's probably going to be, a couple days from now, probably 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th of October, something like that. I'll probably hit 3,000. And I just urge you guys, in the upcoming election, a month from now, go vote. Please go vote. Let's make this country a better place. I'm not going to tell you who to vote for. I'm not going to sit here and try to say vote this way to vote that way. I'm just saying go out and make your voice heard. Try to get this country even a course correction back to something it resembled even just not just a couple years ago. I mean, it's just we're in such a bad place right now, and it's only getting worse. And whoever the next president is, you know what I mean. If it's par for the course, we're gonna continue down the road we're on. If we change, and someone else, a different party's in there, it's not gonna be an overnight thing. It's gonna be a long, crazy road back to normalcy because we're so far removed from that. But it starts fresh. It starts new. It starts now. It has to start somewhere. You just can't snap your fingers and go back. Like I said, to even a sense of normalcy that we had just several years ago. But that's what I want. That's what I want for me. That's what I want for my family. That's what I want for my kid. And it all starts with voting. It all does. So if you're not registered, you still have time to register. Vote. If you can vote in person, please vote in person. Please do that. I don't want you to be unsafe about voting. If you feel it's not safe for you to go to the voting polls, there's absolutely nothing wrong with voting by mail. Even if for my area and where I live, I can actually fill out an absentee ballot, a mail-in ballot, and actually drive to the polling place and drop it in a lockbox. So that way it's kind of like the best of both worlds. You're getting a little bit of an in-person kind of security when it comes to your ballot being counted. Because I don't think, voting by mail is very, 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 very safe. But there's always can be errors can happen. And more often than not, I know people's votes have not been counted because things like signatures don't match, stuff like that, checks and balances. So the better, the more, how do I phrase this? So the election's never over day one. The president technically doesn't get the votes cast for him until mid-December. Because what you're essentially are voting for, in the way the actual voting works in the United States now in the Electoral College, is most people don't know this, you're not voting for the president, you're voting for a voter who votes for the president. That's how the Electoral College works. It takes until December for that person to actually cast their vote. So a lot of people are like, we want this to be over the day of the election. It's never over the day of the election. People just assume it is because the news likes to call elections based off of exit polls and of county numbers and stuff like that. So there's no issue with time, with ballots being counted, and we have the time for all this to be done. But the more that can be, what's the word I'm looking for? Verified. The quicker it can be verified, the quicker we can get this country back in a way it should be functioning. And so yeah, vote any way you possibly can. If you can't vote, if you don't know how to vote, talk to a local place that will register you or explain the process to you and how an actually vote can count. When I say vote any way you can, I'm not saying, stuff ballots and do stuff illegally. I'm sure some people construe it that way, but those people are just, zealots that don't understand common sense. But if you have that power, you should express it. You should use it. You should utilize it, because it's the only way we're going to get back to that sense of normalcy, that even a crumb of what I had when I was growing up, which was absolutely fucking fantastic time in my life. So yeah, so that's my thing. My 3,000th review isn't me reviewing a beer. It's me sitting here and pleading to you guys and girls and gender neutral, everything in between. Just be, do your civil duty. Do what you need to do to help us all have a better life. That's it, man. That's all I want. I want my kid to live in a world where he feels like stealing a beer off me from my fridge when I'm not looking is the pinnacle of dastardly deeds. Not the horrific stuff you see, being done from the top down in the world today. So there you go. A little heady, a little heavy. 3,000th review in the books, but hopefully you guys take a little something from it. Hopefully you guys go out and find that beer you stole off your dad or your mom or your uncle or whatever. You drink that tonight, you drink that tomorrow, and you remember how fun that was when you were a kid, and you work towards that again. So thank you guys again for so many views, so many conversations, so many beer mails, so many everything. And I'll keep doing this as long as you guys watch. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this little talk, this little review. Hopefully you're enjoying some good beer right now, or shitty beer that makes you feel good. And hope to see you next time. Cheers.